Welcome back to the Dividend Diplomats YouTube channel. You've got Bert the Hurt Man and Lanny, Dividend champions of the world, guys. Your favorite YouTube channel on dividend investing. Today we're talking about a very, I don't know, undiscussed stock that's in the pharmaceutical space. We're not talking Pfizer, we're not talking AbbVie, Merck, Bristol Myers, but we're going to go into a different pharmaceutical stock here, one that I own 200 shares of. And it's really just, hey, let's bring a big update to this stock, to this company, and what could come over the next 6, 12, 24 months in time here.
Can't wait to do it. But before we dive in, smash the subscribe button, give the video a thumbs up, help your boys reach 20,000 subscribers so we can keep bringing more videos and more analysis to all of you diplomaniacs that are out there.
All right, guys, now that you've liked and subscribed, guys, we're going to rewind the tape back to Q4 2020, guys, when, yes, Pfizer worked with Mylan to spin off their Upjohn business and create Viatris. Ticker symbol is VTRS. You may have gotten some shares in the spinoff. Bert, do you still own shares of Viatris?
I do.
You've got shares of this one. I was adding a lot to Viatris when they were, I don't know, what was it, like between $7.50 to $10 a share.
Yeah.
I ended up building up to over a 200 share
Wow.
position of Viatris. If I take a look at what their stock price has actually done, over the last couple of years, obviously they are, down this year about 9%. But they've had some, bright moments, rising up to the 13, 14 mark in 2022 is hovering around $15 a share. But again, I was gobbling them up when they were very low, quote unquote. But the question now is what's going on with this stock? Because we'll look at what their 5 year kind of revenue trajectory has looked like and really want to focus in on 2020 and forward because again, November, December is when they spun off from Pfizer to create their own separate entity. Again, Lipitor, I think Viagra, they have a few other
Yeah.
pretty popular drugs, right, within the umbrella of Viatris.
Yeah, so it's not as if the company doesn't have the tools to create revenue and to create cash flow. It's actually quite opposite. With brands like that, you're always going to have some steady and consistent income. That's what makes Viatris at least valuable on paper when you're going through that. And as we look through the financials, Laney, I mean, they've done a good job finding ways to grow revenue in the long run from the business unit standpoint. Where'd they start? If you look back from the last 5 years, it was 11.5 billion for the unit. 2020, it was 11.9 billion, shot up to nearly 18 billion in 2021, and now it's hovering around 15 billion. So sure, it's come down from that peak, but it's still up pretty significantly from where it was 5 years ago.
Yeah, up a decent amount, you're right, Bird. And there's a lot of declines over the last few years in revenue. They've been closing and divesting certain business units. One unit that they've closed and finished up earlier this year was the women's healthcare business unit. And Bert, they just closed during the first week of July their active pharmaceutical ingredient API business in India. So that's all taking a lot of money and cost, legal outside third party services. So there's a lot of cost involved when you want to close down a full business unit, possibly severance packages, all of that stuff, et cetera, et cetera. So that's all hitting your income statement, like that. Any sort of intangible assets you had on that, it's all just being dissolved when they divested units. So
Yeah, there's a lot of noise that goes into it, a lot of legal costs, a lot of things that go into there that takes money out of the system and into the hands of third parties. That one day when the divestitures stop, when they stop making all the noise, that money stays in the business. And that's really what it is. When you slim the company down to what you want the core business to actually be going forward, you can really start operating and you can start crushing it.
exactly. And I mean, when they first spun off, they were sitting on mounds of long-term debt around 22 billion, according to Seeking Alpha. Then as of the end of 2023, that 22 billion is down to 16.18 billion. And
Fantastic.
even through Q1, they are down another 100 million on that 16.2 billion. So
Excellent.
um, they're crushing down that long-term debt, which again decreases typically your interest expense and opens up
Mhm.
cash flow, getting rid of that debt.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So the revenue has seen trends of long-term growth, which is the direction you want to see it. Debt, it's shown directions of where you want it to go after the spinoff. It's down mightily since that point in the spinoff there. So that is some of the exciting metrics of what you're seeing here with Viatris. Were there any other income statement items you want to
Yeah.
discuss here with them?
Yeah, I mean, similar when talking about those divestitures, net income just hasn't been there. Even through Q1, they still had net income. I believe it was about 9 cents reported EPS, but then when you add back in all the adjustments from those one-time items, you're looking at an adjusted EPS of about 67 cents per share, which is actually huge.
Mhm.
Analysts expect $2.74, and that's even what Viatris puts in their guidance for an adjusted basis. And Bert and I, we were just talking about Viatris's business. It's like after all these divestitures, what does it all look like? Give us a clean freaking year. Obviously, we understand if they're trying to take advantage of opportunities when they have them at their table, but what does a clean year where you just earn and operate? And then will that flow through into stock price, share buyback, dividend growth, et cetera?
Yeah, it'll be fun to see. But let's look at them right now, Lanny. Let's look at them. Let's not wait for a few years. Let's look at the metrics now. Let's run them through our stock screener, which has those three metrics: the PE ratio less than the S&P 500, payout ratio less than 60%, a history of increasing that mother effing dividend, and then lastly, the dividend yield is the bonus metric.
Yep. All right, guys. So 274 is the projected earnings. $10.32 is stock price for Viatris right now. So you're looking at a high PE, guys. Kind of like a Chipotle PE. No, I'm just kidding. It's a PE right now of 4.
I know I'm shaking my head because I was in disbelief when we looked at this. Here we had to fact check it just one more time to make sure it was right. But yeah, based on the metrics, their PE ratio is below 4. Wild for Viatris.
Yeah.
Absolutely wild.
Again, still a younger company, so it's hard to go, yeah, that's exactly their EPS makes exact sense here. But yeah, when you think they earn 67 adjusted, you extrapolate that out. Yeah, you're not too far away from that.
Yeah, let's look at the
Um,
dividend. Their
yeah,
annual dividend is 48 cents. Payout ratio is 17.5%. So very low payout ratio.
yeah, and again, that's on the adjusted EPS projection basis there, guys. So again, gotta like the payout ratio, but they haven't grown. Getting into the next metric, their dividend in quite a few years. They increased it, I think, the first year after Pfizer, but since then it's been pretty much standard for 3 years straight. 12 cents, per share per quarter. So no dividend growth right now for Viatris, unfortunately.
At least though, they're paying you to wait. Their yield is 4.65%. So it's a pretty meaningful, meaty dividend yield while you're waiting for dividend growth to happen in the future.
Yeah, I mean 4.65%, definitely well above the S&P 500. Taking a look back at Pfizer's current dividend yield, which is about 6%. So Pfizer is actually yielding more right now because that stock's been in the doghouse. Um, I mean, yeah, not a bad yield, but yeah, you really want to get some growth because that growth side of things, the overall dividend factor is lagging. Again, stock price down, as Bert was talking, not over 9%, up 4.5% since last year. Stock price again has just trended downwards over the last 5 years, losing potentially quote unquote almost half their value.
Okay, so they perform pretty interestingly in our screener there with that low PE and the low payout ratio. So taking a step back, Lanny, what are you doing with Viatris right now? Are you buying, waiting?
I'm gonna wait right now just because I feel like all the signs point that performance should improve, operating earnings should be there. Because if that actually even gets to $1.50 EPS, you're probably, from actually 9 cents per quarter. I think even once you start showing that, you should start seeing better returns to shareholders. Share count has kind of dropped since the spinoff announcement. And I think they're buying back shares, it looks like,
Okay.
sporadically. So, again, I think I'm in a wait and see standpoint because I want to see what the business looks like after all these divestitures.
Yep, I agree. It's a great company. I really like that they're paying on the debt. It's a very good sign for the company that they're not just to not just struggling, treading water, and then taking on more debt. They're actively working to make their balance sheet better. And I think that's a great move for the company. Like
Yeah,
you, I'm watching. But if it drops in that 7, 8 zone again for some reason, I don't think I'm going to be shy with scooping some Viatris up to build up the position.
and we'll have to see, guys. Let us know what you guys did with your Viatris stock. Did you sell it right away from Pfizer? Did you add to it? Or are you simply holding right now on your Viatris stock? Let us know in those comments below.
If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, give this video a thumbs up, and remember, you're either with us or you're against us, Jack.
That was Bert and Laney from the Dividend Diplomats. Over and out.